Alright guys, welcome to this PowerPoint slide. Today we're going to be looking at the beginning of the revolutions, and this is Unit 6, and this is starting off with absolutism and the English Civil War. The essential question you need to ask yourself about this while you go over this is, in what ways does the idea of absolutism challenge Enlightenment ideals? So you're going to be able to understand absolutism and what all happened once I figured out what happened with absolutism. So in review, you got the Middle Ages. Church was the most powerful institution. You guys all know that the church was powerful. They had land, they had military, they had power, and they got money. Money was power. Church power mainly, in my opinion, declined due to the Crusades, but you got all the other things that happened along with it, with the schism, the Babylonian captivity, and the Reformation of the Catholic Church through Martin Luther's 95 Theses. At the same time, we see the rise of powerful monarchs, and they begin to acquire land, wealth, and power because the church can't have it, so the monarchs start to buying it. Absolutism, you need to know this. This is based on the idea that monarch has a divine right to rule. So divine right is the idea of absolutism. So God creates the monarchy. The kings and queens are the representatives on earth. They answer only to God, and God, it basically goes God, king, you. They have absolute power over all aspects of society, and they focus glorification of the state above all else. And the ruler is the state, so they just focus on glorifying themselves. Sounds like a great job. English Civil War comes about. Elizabeth I, she's going to die in 1603. She's going to leave money because these guys like to spend money. So they didn't have any money. She fights over money. The king wants more money. The parliament says no. Who has more power, the king or parliament? Now parliament comes around, so they believe in the theory of absolutism, and they're going to clash with parliament over some of this money, and Charles is going to basically tries to dissolve parliament. Charles gets into war with Scots over religion, and he needs to pay for money for war. He calls Parliament back to me. So Charles says, hey, look, come on back. We need to talk to you. Parliament sees this as an opportunity to limit royal power. Charles, of course, gets mad, tries to arrest Parliament members. War breaks out. So you basically have the beginning of the Civil War right here. It's basically over money. And it's basically over power between the king and Parliament. You have your Cavaliers who are supporters of Charles. So these are called Royalists or Cavaliers. Not Virginia Cavaliers, but Cavaliers. Oh! Roundheads are Puritan supporters of Parliament, and they called so due to the haircut, which you see right there because it makes their head look round. 1644, Oliver Cromwell and the Roundheads defeat Charles. They capture him, execute him. You just get rid of him. And Cromwell establishes the Commonwealth. Oliver Cromwell was sort of the man. He was a good guy. Then he came around and got power. And then he ruled as a military dictator just as everybody else did before him. He establishes a strict Puritan society. And there is your map of what happened in the war. If you need to see it, look above. Restoration, Cromwell dies, and people didn't like the military rules. So it's okay, look, you didn't work out, so we're going to bring back the king because the king worked and you didn't work. So they're going to form a new parliament. They restore the monarchy. So we have restoration. And because they didn't have anywhere else to go, they went back to Charles. So they picked out Charles II. We, killed your dad, but we're going to bring you back. Habeas Corpus Act. Now this is important because this is what we have in our society today. It requires prisoners to be brought before a judge. Charles II, whenever he dies, has no son, so his brother James II inherits the throne. James II devote Catholic. Parliament protests. He appointed Catholic positions, government positions. They didn't like this. He had a son. There's a fear of a line of Catholic kings because they were tired of Catholicism by now. They were ready. He also had an older daughter who was married a Protestant. Married William of Orange from the Netherlands. Now, what happened is the Glorious Revolution. The reason they call it glorious is because it was bloodless. James is going to run away, and William and Mary are going to take over as king and queen. Nobody died for the first time in a while they kicked the king out and brought a new one in. That's a good thing when nobody dies. It's important because it establishes the legislative body as supreme over monarch. In other words, Parliament got more and more power, and the king lost a little bit of power. England becomes a constitutional monarchy. Laws limit the ruler's power. This is what they have today. Also, you start seeing the beginnings of the English Constitution, which is made up of a bunch of different articles, such as the Magna Carta. Big, important article right there. It protects the rights of the individuals. Petitions of rights, limits the rights of the kings. The Habeas Corpus Act, just went over that. There's a Bill of Rights that it clearly establishes the power of kings. Now, don't forget, you do have a Bill of Rights in America, so that's where we get it from, in case you don't know. And last picture and lyrics, yeah, no, we're just going to skip it. We're going to go to the American Revolution. So we're going to look at how did the Enlightenment ideas influence the American Revolution and the development of democratic governments. America. British exploration, basically this is the establishment of the colonies. We all know the colonies came over here. There was a bunch of areas. There was a monopoly over sea trade. There was a monopoly over just about everything because these guys were basically a bunch of rich old English people that listened to whatever they... Woohoo! British exploration. So there you go. There you see all the little fun, little crazy maps that I usually have you do a brochure on. Maybe, maybe not. See what happens. So we're going to look at British colonialism. Puritans and Pilgrims come and they go to Plymouth. Pilgrim, Massachusetts Bay. You guys know this by now. The first colony is Jamestown. You should know all this stuff easily. This is good. England wanted a piece of New World wealth, so they started joint stock companies because they wanted the money. They wanted the money, so they send people over here to start companies. That basically they got a founder back over there. He sends somebody over here, and they try to get going on it because they like money. And then you got woohoo! How many colonies do you have? If you guess any number other than 13, you are wrong. Mercantilism basically says whatever you make here gets shipped back to your mother country. They can sit there and decide what to do with it, and if you want to buy it, you have to buy it from them. So they always make money on your behalf. Not a fun picture because that's where the money is, the wealth is, that's where history goes with. The goal is to maintain a favorable balance of trade and to export more than import. So basically, you provide the raw materials and market to produce buying goods. In other words, if you're growing down here and you're growing cotton, you send it back over to England. They make you a t-shirt. You got to buy a t-shirt from England. Yeah, it makes no sense. British policy towards their colonies was salutary neglect. As long as colonies pay taxes and obey the laws, they left them alone. Hey, look, you're going to pay a bunch of taxes. We're not going to bother you. You can do your own governments. You can do what you want to. You're just going to give us a bunch of money, and you do what you want to. Didn't work out well. French and Indian Wars. These were fought between the French and British, not the French and the Indian. Don't ask me why that name's over there. If you guys can't figure it out, I will help you out at some point. Over the Ohio River Valley, who does this land belong to? Well, in my opinion, it belongs to Native Americans who aren't even Indians because Indians are from India, but that's a different story altogether. British eventually won, but both countries are basically in debt because when you go somewhere else to fight, it costs you a lot of money, i.e. Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. You just go Middle East. How pay for costs of governing and defending territories? Well, of course, they're going to tax you. Just not fun. So we're going to look right here, and you see all these new lands and what was going on and what was ceded to the colonies. And so the colonies' lands actually sort of grew up, and they doubled or tripled in land value, which is fantastic. But this increased tension between British and their colonies. So there was a proclamation in 1763 which forbid colonists from settling in Ohio Valley due to conflicts with natives. You didn't see this one coming. There was a crackdown on smuggling when they forced to pay taxes on imports and exports. Begin taxation to rise money to pay for debt. No, not good. So you're in debt, Brit, and you're trying to charge the colonies more taxes. No bueno. So you're starting to see sort of the land where it's supposed to be at, where you can go. These are your taxation acts: Sugar Act, Stamp Act, Townshend, Boston Massacre, Tea Act, Boston Tea Party, coercive acts, where you got rid of and you suspended habeas corpus. You don't suspend habeas corpus. No. None of these acts. If you want to pause it, pause it. All right, go. Violation of colonial rights. No taxation without representation. Now, if you can say that with an English accent, Malin, come here, say that with an English accent. You have to do it. Come on. Malin's going to say it with an English accent so you can hear about it. Come here. You got to get in the video. Say, no taxation without representation.
No taxation without representation.
What else could we not do?
Quartering of troops.
Quartering. That's not where you split them up. That's where they try to live on your couch. Bad. And they try to get rid of what?
Trial by jury by one's peers. Do you want me to say it in a British accent?
Say it in a British accent. Say they seize property without due process.
Seize property without due process.
It's muy bad. Muy bad.
That's Spanish.
I know. It's crazy. We don't know where we're going. So you're going to see some of the maps. There's the Tea Party right there. Ooh, we threw a bunch of tea into the boil. Ooh. All right, so the fighting began in 1775 and it lasted until 1781. Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and the first battles at Lexington and Concord. Now, these are the shots heard around the world. Later on, you'll see World War I, where you have a shot heard around the world. The turning points, Battle of Saratoga, and they convinced the French to join because the French hated the British and they wanted to see them die and lose and basically die. The last battles at Yorktown, then there was a Treaty of Paris signed, which England recognized the independence of the USA. America. Ooh, victories. And there is Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas. Congress and the Declaration of Independence. Results of the war, democratic government replaces a monarchy. Articles of Confederation were the first constitution. It was no good. But did not have power to deal with national problems, didn't have the power to tax. That was a big one too. Wrote a new constitution because they were going to rewrite the Articles of Confederation. They realized that they couldn't do it, so they scrapped the whole thing and they rewrote the Constitution. Trivia fact, there was a leader, de facto leader, during the Articles of Confederation, but they were never considered a president. So our first president was George Washington, but you did that people were de facto leaders at the time period. Government based their ideals on the Enlightenment thinkers. Think about this. And separation of powers, social contracting, general will, and natural rights. So I hope that helped you out. I'm not going to make you do all this stuff, but if you want to sit there and go through all this stuff, it will help you out for your test. But that's about it. Talk to you later. Bye.